Hey guys, it's Amy. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're having a wonderful day as always. If you could, of course, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, remember to comment on everything, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Now, we're going to get right into this video today. And we're going to talk about an incident that recently happened in Shawnee, Kansas. This is Nicholas Ecker Jr., called Junior by family and friends. He is another baby taken far too soon and under horrible conditions. He was just over 1 year old when he died in a terrifying manner. It was on February 13th of 2022 at approximately 1 a.m. when the house at West 69th Terrace went up in flames. The fire department eventually calmed the rampant fire, and when they entered the single-family home, they found the body of Junior Ecker in his crib in the downstairs bedroom. Worse still was the fact that his body showed severe burns, and worse still would be the autopsy that would also show that his lungs were filled with soot, proving that he had been alive and coherent as the massive fire blazed around him. Just imagine the potential fear inside this child, not knowing what was going on, not having anyone come to help him, and wondering where his parents were to save him. I honestly don't know how a baby's mind works. I do know that professionals once said that babies did not know pain or fear at such a young age. But now many have said differently. So did Nicholas Ecker Jr. understand the fear of dying in this way? I can't answer that. But I can tell you that he was left to die in that fire, and his parents did not come to help him because he was home alone in this burning house. Yes, his mother had left him alone in the home, and his father had been the one that started the fire that had killed him. Just think about that for a moment. Junior had been living with his mother, Karlie Phelps, in Shawnee, Kansas, up until this horrible tragedy happened. The night began with a fight between this previous couple, now separated, and it would end in the death of one and the arrest of two. The fight started via text messages when Nicholas Ecker, the father, a 28-year-old man from Prairie Village, Kansas, began questioning his ex-girlfriend, the baby's mother, Karlie. He wanted to know where she was, and he wanted to know where his son was, and he seemed to be in a bit of an angry, jealous rage. And these are some of the text messages. And these text messages will be extremely important for the timeline of this case. Nicholas Ecker had gone to Karlie's home to find her car gone, and apparently, after seeing a Valentine's Day balloon in the house, presumably given to her by another man, that set him off, which you can see from the text. Karlie had continued to lie and tell Nick Ecker that Junior was with her. But he was not. He was not with her. He was home, and he was home alone. It seems likely that Nick Ecker didn't know that his son was home when he decided to set his ex-girlfriend's house on fire in a jealous, angry rage. Karlie had gone out that night, and she was sitting at someone's house arguing with Nick by text messages when she started getting calls from several people, including her mother, telling her that her house was engulfed in flames. This is when she obviously realized that her son was left alone in a home that was now completely filled with fire. And in the text message, you can see as she tells him to go get the son, and she makes some other comments. Go get Junior now. He's inside, you dim ass. I cannot believe you started that fire. You killed our baby, and you could have killed me. She said, you killed our son, and you could have even killed me. As if saying, well, our son is dead, but you could have even taken my life, and that's so much worse. As opposed to what would normally be, "Oh my God, you killed our son. I wish it had been me instead of my son." Basically, the exact opposite of what she said. It just comes across selfish, and obviously these were selfish people. I mean, let's be serious in their behavior and everything else. But I have a bit of a problem in the way that she said, "I've taken my life too." It's understandable. It makes sense. The wording just sounds not the best, which sounds a bit like she's saying that her life was more important than her son's. But maybe I'm taking it wrong. What do you think? Karlie had told Nick that she had gone to a friend's house to support her during an incident in which her friend's spouse hit her, which was obviously a completely false story because she was actually out trying to buy prescription drugs. She later said that she decided not to buy them, but I find that hard to believe because she ended up with another charge for possession of drugs. And she was actually at the house with the person she was buying drugs from when her and Nick were arguing between texts and when she found out about the fire and about her son. But it is really this text from Phelps that is the most important, because before she says the lie about where she is, she makes this comment and says, "Nothing's wrong. No, he's sleeping in bed," shaking my head. "I have the camera on him. What are you doing there, Nick?" So it is in this statement where she finally admits that the baby is not with her. And this is probably when Nick Ecker realizes what has happened, that he's not only burned down the house, but he has killed his own son. Nick would return to the home as it was completely engulfed in flames and as the firefighters were there. He said it was because he had a bad feeling. I imagine he said he had a bad feeling because he realized he set the house on fire and his baby was there, as well as an excuse for showing up at the house randomly without being called by anyone to come to the scene. Karlie would also arrive at the house and also make a strange statement that was overheard by the firemen. She had been overheard mumbling, "I lit it. No, I know I put it out. That would be an accident," before blaming Nicholas Ecker. I think that's strange because it alludes to it being her fault, but it's been proven that it was Nick that did it and it was not her. The call tower pings showed that she was in a completely different area where she said she was, and Nick Ecker's pings show that he was by the house at the time that the fire was set. The timing of the fire. I've mentioned timing of the fire, of the text, of their movements throughout this video. If we look at the text messages in comparison to the timing of when everything happened, it is 12:33 p.m. when Ecker begins questioning Phelps about this Valentine's Day balloon that he sees inside the house. And it is 12:52, just about 20 minutes later, when the first responders arrive to put out this fire. At 12:58, Ecker continues questioning Phelps about where his son is, which he seems to start thinking he may have been in the home, at which time Phelps then explains that yes, the baby is in the home. And at 1:12, he arrives at the home, and Karlie arrives shortly after he does. Nick was arrested on several charges, including the murder of his son and several other charges from prior cases. And he was given a $1 million bond and is still sitting in jail. Karlie was also eventually charged a couple weeks later for manslaughter and endangering a child because she had obviously left her son alone in the home, and he ended up dying because of that, partially because of that. She was given a smaller bail than Nick and had been bailed out and was told that she was not allowed to speak to certain witnesses and other things, which she chose not to listen to, which ended up causing her to get additional charges for tampering with witnesses. So Nick got these charges: first-degree murder, aggravated arson, and a variety of other older domestic charges that we will talk about later. And Karlie received these charges: involuntary manslaughter, endangerment of a child, violation of protective order, witness tampering, and drug possession, which is interesting because she said she decided not to buy the drugs. Interesting. But, she did cooperate with the police and give over her phone and everything else so they could review and investigate. So it seems that she's basically helping with the investigation, although, as I said, she didn't listen when she was told not to tamper with the witnesses. I don't know exactly what she did, but I know that that was another charge that she received. And if I find out more, I will let you know. I often say many of these cases could have been avoided if people did their job. And in this case, I can actually still say that because Nick Ecker had a mile-long rap sheet starting as a kid and continuing on up until the date of his son's death. And as the DA said, he probably should have been in jail. Just look at his list of charges, present and past. As I have said, Ecker's criminal history is substantial, and therefore, had he been remanded at any time, especially considering his obvious escalation, his son might still be alive today. His history of violence and criminal behavior goes back more than a decade, starting when he was about 15 years old. So I'm going to just give you a quick list of his criminal history, which definitely starts off as little things and quickly escalates as he gets older. 15 years old, 2009, April, falsely reporting a crime. I don't know what it is. October 7th, battery. October 21st, possession of illegal butterfly knife and drug paraphernalia. October 23rd, damaging plumbing and door and disorderly conduct at a juvenile detention facility. All four of these cases were combined and he received 1 year of probation. November 18th, disorderly conduct. 2010, January 21st, making a criminal threat and battery. This was amended to assault in June of 2010. September of 2010, possession of a firearm with identification marks altered, unlawful possession of a firearm, and theft of wheels. His first adult charge was in September of 2011, shortly after he actually turned 18. It was a marijuana possession. 3 weeks later, he was caught stealing a Dodge Dakota truck and a Kawasaki motorcycle. At this point, the judge tells him that they have tried everything they can possibly do during his juvenile record, and everything has failed. So he is finally sentenced to several months in jail. But then even that is then paroled, so he doesn't serve any time again. In February of 2012, aggravated robbery. He actually pleads guilty to that on July 16th of 2012, and he is sentenced to 5 years in prison. He does 4 years at Hutchinson Correctional and is paroled in June of 2016. As part of his release, he has 3 years of supervision and has to register as a violent offender. But then on September 12th of 2016, Johnson County revokes his probation on one of his offenses, and he is sent back to jail until June 9th of 2018. A little over a year after being let out of prison, on November 2019, is the domestic violence for strangling a woman and illegal firearm possession by a felon. August of 2020, he's placed on 18 months probation for a weapons charge. His probation had just ended within the last couple months, but it was being revisited for revocation when this current incident happened in which he decided to burn down his ex-girlfriend's home. He had also had another domestic battery for also strangling his then girlfriend, Karlie. That was then upgraded to a stalking charge when he ignored the no contact order and showed up in her house and threatened Karlie and another man that was there, and then again also threatened them online. And then we have his most recent incident in which he set a house on fire and killed his own son. And that is where we are now with him. And we'll probably spend the majority of his life in prison, you would think. Nick Ecker was obviously a reckless man with a temper and no concern for consequences. But if he had been held in jail originally after all of his domestics and his recent domestic for strangling, threatening, and stalking Karlie, maybe his baby would still be here. Probably Junior would still be here. But both Karlie and Nick will be back in court. They will likely spend a long time in prison. If so, they will have a lot of time in prison to think about what their ridiculous arguments set into play and why they no longer have their baby in their lives. This is sad on so many levels. This beautiful baby is gone, and most often, the parents don't deserve our sympathy, but in this case, I do have sympathy for both of them. They both made awful mistakes, obviously. Karlie chose to leave her 1-year-old son in his crib alone in the house so she could go out and apparently buy drugs. And Nick Ecker would let his rage take over and choose to actually set a house on fire, a house that his son was living in. Obviously, they are very well deserving of the charges that they have received and deserve to go to prison. But I do feel bad for them losing their baby. These are not parents that meant to hurt their child and definitely did not mean to kill their child. But I would assume that they loved him, and now they have lost him out of stupidity, selfishness, jealousy, and anger. And of course, it's always sad when a baby dies. I'm sure the rest of the family is hurting right now. So I do want to wish their family the very best and send lots of love in the hope that they can move on as best as they can. And if a GoFundMe does happen to come up again to help out with their family, funeral costs, or what have you, if you feel that you'd like to help, I think that would be something very nice to do, because this is a tragedy all around where a baby died in a very scary manner. If we really think about it, this child may have been awake, standing, sitting, laying in his crib, looking at fire coming around the house and breathing in smoke, not knowing what was going on. And I'm sure he was crying out for help, and there was no one there, which of course is his mother's and his father's fault. But there's a lot of victims here, and it's just a very sad story, a very sad case. So that's it. I will see you on the next video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you will like, share, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And have a wonderful day. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.